delegation of the government of Venezuela for the dialogues in Mexico celebrated the release of diplomat Alex Saab, as well as the strength of the government of President Nicolas Maduro and the determination of the people to rescue him. The World Health Organization said that Gaza no longer has any functioning hospitals in the north of the territory. Chinese Foreign Minister Wang Yi asked the Philippines to give top priority to the proper handling of the current maritime situation between the two nations. Hello, welcome to From the South. I'm Luis Alberto Matos from the teleSUR studios in Havana, Cuba. We begin with the news. A delegation of the government of Venezuela for the dialogues in Mexico celebrated the release of diplomat Alex Saab, as well as the strength of the government of President Nicolas Maduro and the determination of the people to rescue him. The coordinator of the Venezuelan government delegation for the dialogue and president of parliament, Jorge Rodriguez, assured that sooner rather than later it has to be known who are those responsible for the crimes against humanity against the diplomat. For his part, Saab indicated that after 1,286 days of illegally holding him unlawfully, they have not been able to prove a single crime, nor a single evidence against him, nor against Venezuela. In that respect, Rodriguez pointed out that Venezuela undertook an arduous, hard, and difficult negotiation for more than 2 years. He added that behind bastidors, there was an immense effort for Alex Saab's defense.
We want to express in this talk, in this meeting with the media, our deepest happiness, our greatest joy. Our perception that with the perseverance and strength of the government of the Bolivarian Republic of Venezuela, the strength of President Nicolas Maduro, and the determination of all Venezuelans, men and women, we have achieved what was once considered an almost impossible task, the rescue of a diplomatic.
The president of the Venezuelan parliament, Jorge Rodriguez, stated that they hope to find those responsible for the crimes to which diplomat Alex Saab was subjected.
We say now that sooner rather than later, the unspeakable tortures which he was subjected, the beatings, the drowning, the inhuman treatment, the kicking out of 3 of his teeth, will be known, and it must be known who is responsible for these crimes against humanity.
The Venezuelan diplomat Alex Saab stressed that Venezuela is living a historic moment by confirming that dialogues are more fruitful than hatred.
To all those who in one way or another were involved in bringing me home, as Dr. Jorge commented, Jorge said a few minutes ago, I was kidnapped, tortured, isolated, slandered, defamed. And after 1,286 days, they could not prove a single crime. They could not present a single piece of evidence. Not against me, not against Venezuela. This is a historic moment in which Venezuela reasserts itself as the only way, with the firm conviction of President Nicolas Maduro that dialogue bears greater fruit than hatred.
Uruguay's Senate approved the home detention law for people over 65 years old thanks to the votes of legislators of the government coalition, but without the support of the opposition broad front party. If this bill is confirmed, older adults who are sentenced to imprisonment will have access to this benefit under certain conditions as long as it does not imply a risk for society. In this way, the bill seeks to guarantee a benefit for prisoners over 65 years of age so that their health or human dignity will not be harmed. Also, this proposal of the ultra-right party seeks to free prisoners for human rights violations during the last military dictatorship.
Prisoners here who are not here to be rehabilitated but to be martyred. There are prisoners who are accused or blamed for situations in which they clearly had no involvement, only in the face of testimony of very questionable evidence.
I am grateful that this proposal has been presented because it obviously exposes and it is clear what the intention of a party in our country is, because clearly in the proposal it speaks of those crimes that prescribed according to this project when we know that crimes against humanity do not continue.
The Brazilian Senate on Wednesday promulgated the historic tax reform approved last week after 30 years of legislative debate. This move simplifies taxation in the country, exempting basic products of goods and introducing progressive taxes on luxury goods. The President of Congress, Rodrigo Pacheco, created this achievement as marking a change in the history of Brazil as a turning point and a decisive point. In this sense, Pacheco pointed out that the South American nation now has a new tax system that simplifies and unifies the taxation of consumption and services, providing protection for the basic food products, medicines, and sectors related to education and health. On the other hand, the Brazilian President Lula da Silva on social media praised the tax reform law and emphasized that it is a 30-year-old victory and that the big winner is Brazil.
I'm happy because I'm sure that the people are happy too, but what makes me happier is this photograph. You don't have to lie Lula's government, just keep this picture up to date. I'm happy that whether against or in favor you contribute so that this country for the first time could approve a tax reform to the satisfaction of its citizens.
On Thursday in Australia, an emergency warning has been issued for a wildfire burning near Perth, with at least 2 properties destroyed. A wildfire burning out of control on the outskirts of the Australian west coast city of Perth on Thursday destroyed at least 2 homes and injured 2 people, officials said. The out-of-control fire in Parkerville has forced residents to flee the area, with authorities issuing threat to lives and homes alert. Aerial footage showed one property fully engulfed in flames, with thick black smoke billowing above the area. Western Australia State Premier Roger Cook told reporters that authorities hold grave concerns for the wildfire. Fire authorities reported that the fire had been contained but remained out of control after racing 90 hectares. No injuries have been reported so far.
We all hold grave concerns for the fire in Parkerville, and our hearts go out to all those people who are involved in that incident. This has an impact on residents, on peoples and their homes. It has an impact on the emergency services personnel who are responding to that incident. It's a very troubling situation. As you see today, the weather is very unkind. We will do everything that we can as a government to support these communities and to support the emergency personnel who are on.
Let's now take a short break, but remember you can join us on TikTok at teleSUR English, where you will find news in different formats, news updates, and much more. Other stories coming up. Stay with us. Welcome back from the south. On Thursday, the troops of the Zionist government of Israel extend the massacre in Gaza in spite of the international rejection. During the last massacre, the number of dead victims rose to more than 20,000. While the UN Security Council postpones decisions that could save lives, the Israeli occupation army continues its military deployment throughout the Strip. In turn, on Thursday, the Palestinian Ministry of Health reported another massacre in Khan Yunis, one of the most besieged areas of the Palestinian enclave and home to Yahya Sinwar, leader of the resistance movement, Hamas. It should be noted that according to the official data, the Tel Aviv regime has killed 8,000 children and 6,200 women, but under tons of rubble, there are still many bodies. On the other hand, local authorities confirmed 52,600 wounded under the Zionist siege. Also on Thursday, the World Health Organization said that Gaza no longer has any functioning hospitals in the north of the territory. Only 9 out of 36 health facilities are partly functional in the whole of Gaza. All of these in the south, said the head of the WHO office for the West Bank and Gaza, Rick Peppercorn. He said Al Ali Hospital had been the last one providing services in northern Gaza, but had moved to an operation with a minimal function that was still treating patients but not admitting new ones, along with Al Shifa, Al Awda, and Al Sahaba hospitals. He said the hospitals were also sheltering thousands of displaced people. In his remarks, WHO Health Emergency Preparedness and Response and Emergency Coordination, Sean Casey, called for a ceasefire in the conflict.
36 health facilities are partly functional in the whole of Gaza. All of these in the south. There are actually no functional hospitals left in the north. Al-Ahli was the last one, but is now minimal functional. Still treating patients, but not admitting new ones, along with Al-Shifa, Al-Ada, and Al-Sahaba Hospital. So these hospitals are still sheltering also thousands of displaced people.
On Thursday, once again, the United Nations referred to the difficult situation faced by displaced people in Gaza, mostly children and women. UNICEF estimates that displaced children in Gaza have access to only 1.5 to 2 liters of water per day, in line with humanitarian standards. The minimum amount of water needed in an emergency situation is 15 liters. And for survival, the estimated minimum is 3 liters per day. The report also notes that in the shelters, long lines of women and children wait to use the toilet, as there is only one toilet for every 700 people on average, leading to the use of other survival strategies, an element that contributes to the spread of disease in a scenario where 50% of water, sanitation, and hygiene facilities are damaged or destroyed. Hundreds of container ships have been forced to detour to South Africa to avoid the Red Sea route under the control of the Yemeni National Salvation Government. The Yemeni Ansar Allah movement, in its pledge of loyalty to the Palestinian cause, is blocking the transit of ships linked to Israel and its allies, on the premise that if food and medicine do not enter Gaza, they will not enter Israel. They have built an impassable checkpoint that forces major shipping companies to take longer routes. Fares have increased, and even consultations on the China-Europe Rail Express are on the rise. Washington is trying to organize a task force to clear the pass, but has not yet announced that it will be operational. We have a second short break coming up, but before we invite you to join our WhatsApp community for our English-speaking audience, you can scan the QR code on screen to join directly and share the link to reach more people. Constant news coverage of Latin America and the Caribbean, as well as the rest of the world. Stay connected and informed with teleSUR. For our short break, don't go away. Welcome back from the South. Chinese Foreign Minister Wang Yi asked the Philippines to give top priority to the proper handling of the current maritime situation between the two nations. Wang Yi, in a telephone conversation with his counterpart from the Philippines, Enrique Manalo, who had requested the meeting, asked that more importance be given to this matter. Beijing and Manila have been exchanging signals in recent months over clashes between coast guards, fishing boats, and other vessels in the South China Sea, a strategic trade corridor that both nations are claiming, specifically on the Ren-Ai Reef issue. The Philippine Foreign Minister expressed hope that agreements acceptable to the parties could be reached and that tensions could be cooled to avoid conflict. On Thursday, a search and rescue operation took place in 2 villages in China's Qinghai province that was buried by a landslide after a Monday night earthquake. The natural disaster killed at least 135 people and injured more than 900 others. Most of the casualties were in Gansu province and the rest in the neighboring province of Qinghai. According to state broadcaster CCTV, the death toll in Qinghai province rose to at least 22 on Thursday. At least 12 others remain missing. On Thursday, excavators moved dirt and rescue workers tried to break into some buried houses from the rooftops. The death toll was the highest from an earthquake in China in 9 years. Experts blame the high toll on several factors, including the shallow depth of the quake and the lower quality construction in the region. Trade exchange between Moscow and Saudi Arabia in the first 9 months of 2023 increased by almost 20% compared to the same period of 2022, said Deputy Mayor of the Russian Capital for Economic Policy and Property and Land Relations, Vladimir Efimov. The official explained that manufacturers of industrial goods supplied the Arab country with optical and medical goods, electrical equipment, cosmetics, plastics, confectionery, beverages, and meat. The head of the Department for Investment and Industrial Policy, Vladislav Ovchinsky, in turn confirmed that Moscow leads in non-energy exports to Saudi Arabia. From January to September 2023, the capital index in Russia's trade with Saudi Arabia increased from 31% to 35%. Thus, in comparison with the same period of 2022, Moscow increased trade with this country by almost 20%. Despite sanctions maintained by the West, Russia and India reached a commercial exchange that exceeded $54 billion in the first 10 months of this year, 2023. The authorities of both countries have emphasized that Russia has entered the four most important trade partners of India, maintaining its leading position in the global energy market. In the first 3 quarters of this year, bilateral trade generated an increase of 47% in agricultural, food, and mining products. Russian Deputy Minister of Economic Development Dmitry Volvach pointed out during the 15th Indo-Russian business round that the measures taken by Moscow have facilitated the import of supplies from India. On Thursday in Thailand, 3 trafficked Sumatran orangutans were sent back to Indonesia as part of a joint effort between the countries to tackle the illegal wildlife trade. Nobita and Chizuka, both 7 years old, and Brian, 5 years old, had been living at a wildlife sanctuary in the western Thai province of Ratchaburi. After their repatriation, there are no more trafficked orangutans currently under the care of the Thai authorities, officials said. Rashmat Budiman, Indonesia's ambassador to Thailand, said the illegal trade in wildlife is a huge challenge for his country. He thanked the authorities in both countries for their repatriation. The extradition is important because it shows the 2 countries' commitment to collaborate in the fight against the illicit wildlife trade, said Athapol Charoenchansa, Thailand's Director General of the Department of National Parks, Wildlife and Plant Conservation.
As I said, that I'm feeling mixed feelings. The feelings of happy because they are going back to Indonesia, to their origin habitat. At the same time, I'm feeling very sad for the animal keepers who taking them of the orangutan for 7 years and 5 years respectively. So I know the feeling of them because they have already close relation between the animal keepers and also the orangutan.
And back in Brazil, President Luiz Inácio Lula da Silva reinforced the intention to host the next Women's World Cup in the country in 2027 on Wednesday. The Brazilian president authorized the creation of a working group to coordinate the bidding actions and guarantee the fulfillment of the FIFA's requirements for the country's bidding to host the World Cup. The governor insisted on the need for coordination by the Minister of Sports, André Fufuca, with FIFA to host the event. In addition to Brazil, the World Football ruling body announced that the United States and Mexico presented a partnership bid and another joint option involving Germany, Belgium, and the Netherlands. Let's remember that Brazil hosted the Men's World Cup in 2014, which was won by Germany. FIFA Women's World Cup is the most important international women's football tournament at the national team level in the world due to the progress of women's football experienced mainly during the 1980s and 1990s. FIFA decided to organize the first edition of the women's version in 1991 in the People's Republic of China. Brazil's bid to host the World Cup makes a lot of sense because so far 9 World Cups have been organized and none of them have been hosted in Latin America. It is worth mentioning that the American continent hosted the Cup 3 times, the United States twice, and once in Canada. In the 9 editions of the tournament, only 5 countries have lifted the trophy, with the United States being the most successful team. With 4 titles, Germany follows with 2 trophies, while Norway, Japan, and Spain have been proclaimed champions on only 1 occasion. Regarding the Brazilian candidacy, this nation has the best performance in Latin America with a 2nd place in 2007. We have come to the end of this news brief, but you can find this and many other stories on our website at telesurenglish.net. And also you can join us on our social medias on Facebook, X, Instagram, Telegram, and TikTok. For TeleSUR English, I'm Luis Alberto Matos. Thank you for watching.